Any questions on that before going to Revelation 14? Does that
This is just so new and interesting to me. Welcome to your favorite Christian podcast, Questions and Almost Answers. Today, we're talking about something I have no idea about, and maybe you never knew about, but I'm learning, and so maybe you'll learn too. I'm Matt, the little pastor of Hampton Baptist Church, and this is Greg, the big pastor of Hampton Baptist Church. Greg, what on earth is the 144,000? What I heard this, but I've got no idea. What is this?
shoot? I thought you were going to have the answer for this one.
Okay, I can make it up on the fly. I'm just
I,
worried that I might say things that are untrue.
so probably some of you watching might be thinking like 144,000. What in the world is this even talking about? Um, you might be asking, does this even matter? There's all kinds of interesting questions about this 144,000, but hopefully we will get at least a big picture idea of who they are. And this is found in the book of Revelation, chapter 7 and chapter 14. Those are the two times that this group is mentioned, and they are given a very special status.
Hmm.
They are specially sealed by God. Um, they are recognized as being redeemed and being pure in God's sight and have this access right into the throne room of God.
Wow, that
So
is
who
pretty
who wouldn't
incredible.
want to be in this group, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So so if you think, I don't care about this number, I'm not even big into numbers, right? Well, you should care in the sense that you could be part of this group that gets to be in the very presence of God, and actually reign in some way with God. Like that's a pretty big deal, right?
That's huge.
So there's actually a religion that I won't name that you can probably figure out that's pretty big on this 144,000. And they think that they've got that corner kind of capped as their own, that only those in their belief system can be part of this 144,000. Um, Interestingly enough, in that belief system, uh, all the seats are filled. And so all the people that are joining the religion now can't be part of that
Ooh,
144,000. So they
that's
already missed
a
out.
that's a yikes.
Yeah. So what I would like to say to us today is my understanding is you haven't missed out.
Mm,
That you can be part of this 144,000. Now, I could be wrong, um, but I'm pretty sure I'm not.
right.
Right.
So this might be an almost definitely answer.
Y- Maybe,
Almost
almost.
we'll call it
It's
an almost answer.
controversial
That's
in the
right.
sense
That's
that,
right.
yeah, there's lots of opinions on this, but I think this one makes the most sense and is the most natural, just reading the book of Revelation. Okay, so I'm going to read a few verses, and
And
it's
this is going to be from Revelation. So I'll need to
yes,
put my real thinking cap on because I feel like when it comes to Revelation, how much of it is symbolic and how much of it is like actual, this is what's going to happen.
right. So Revelation is an apocryphal type of writing. It's a style that we don't use really today, but it was common, at least known back when John wrote this. Yeah, and it's very symbolic, a lot of metaphors, and some people struggle with reading the Bible and interpreting it as if there are metaphors, right?
Right.
And they struggle with it so much that I'm afraid to pull their leg or it might come off in my hand.
No.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that yeah, some people really struggle with the Bible not being literal every step of the way, but natural language we use figures of speech and
Mm.
exaggerations and all those things all the time. That's part of the beauty of humanity and the
Yeah.
beauty of communication.
You just used one. You said if I pull their leg, yeah,
Yeah,
like you just used one.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a joke that I hoped you'd get, right?
See,
Right.
exactly.
So when we use these metaphors or exaggerations or whatever, we intend for the person we're communicating to understand it, right?
Mm,
We're not trying to trick somebody. We're trying to emphasize something,
that's
right?
right.
So in the book of Revelation, with all the symbolic language, it's not there to trick you or to make it so that you're just scratching your head. Um, you're supposed to get something from it. Like you're supposed to be encouraged or warned, or there's something you're supposed to get from it.
Mm,
So let's get something
let's do it.
from this 144,000. So in chapter 7 of Revelation, we get this scene in heaven that's kind of like this break in the chaos, break in in the end of chapter 6. There's this worry that nobody's going to be saved from God's wrath, right? Like
Mm,
that it's just everything is so bleak, and then you get this. It's like the clouds break away and the sun comes
mm,
through, and you say, "Oh, there's something behind the clouds," right?
right.
And that's what we're seeing in chapter 7. And verse 3, it says, "Wait, don't harm the land or the sea or the trees until we have placed the seal of God on the foreheads of his servants." And I heard how many were marked with the seal of God. 144,000 were sealed from all the tribes of Israel. And then it lists like from each of the tribes, right? 12,000 from each of these tribes of Israel. So two things, okay?
Rick,
So
I
yeah,
don't think I'm from Israel.
okay. And that's where those people who struggle with metaphors
Mm,
say this is absolutely talking about Israel.
mm,
And in the future, Israel is going to have to come back in in a very unique way so that they're divided by tribes again, right?
mm.
Because if you talk to a Jewish person today and say, "What tribe are you from?"
They'd have no idea.
Right. But because you don't go by that anymore. So there are those that take this so literally that would see not just Israel becoming a nation again and all of that, but actually dividing into tribes.
Tribes.
And there's an interesting thing if you go through the list, because all 12 tribes are listed here, but in a different way that it's never, the tribes are never listed this way in anywhere else in the Bible.
Mm.
And John's a Jew. He
And
knows
so
how,
he would have known,
he
right?
knows, right?
Yeah.
And he knows that Dan is a tribe, and yet he doesn't include it. There's something going on here, right?
Mm,
So so we've got this description of this 144,000 that are of the 12 tribes of Israel, and it's a unique description of these tribes. But it's also 144 is 12 times 12, right?
right.
And apocryphal writing is big into numbers
Right.
and big into giving meaning to those numbers. Now,
Mm,
any Jewish reader or even the Christian readers that would have read this knows that there's 12 tribes,
right.
but also knew that how many apostles were there?
There were 12
12.
apostles.
Right. And this comes out in the writings like Paul talked about this, like where you've got the foundation of the prophets that came from those 12 tribes, but also the foundation of the apostles, the 12.
Mm.
So you take the 12 times the 12 and you
And
get
then it's 144.
144,000. And then you times it by 1,000. Um, so you've got this description. Now here's the key thing, okay?
Mm,
Um, is John heard this.
right.
He hasn't seen anything yet. He's hearing this, he's overhearing this conversation. So it says, and I heard how many were marked with the seal, right? So
Fascinating.
he hears this description. Okay. Now verse 9 tells us what he sees. So ready to be blown away?
I'm ready.
Here's what he sees. I saw a vast crowd, so great to count, from every nation and tribe and people and language standing in front of the throne and before the Lamb. So he hears
Mm,
this description that would say, here's this 144,000, right? This group that have been sealed with God, but that's a strange number, right?
yeah.
140, why 144,000? What does that actually mean? And then he sees them and then it's like,
And it's
ah,
more.
yeah, I get
Yeah.
it now. This is these are representatives of all of us, right?
Mm,
From every tribe, every nation, every people group, everyone who's been redeemed by Jesus.
that's
This is who we're
incredible.
talking about, right? These are the servants of God. These are the ones that God has sealed, and nobody is wiping them out. Like
Mm,
these are his,
that's
right?
right.
So I would be of the opinion that the 144,000 is a symbolic number that just represents all of the redeemed, all that all
Mm,
that stand in God's presence, all that reign with him, all that are his children. Um, so a lot of people scratch their head wondering who these people are. Well, they
yeah.
probably are you, right?
Yeah.
If you're wondering, that you're probably part. Here's any questions on that before going to Revelation 14? Does that
This is just so new and interesting to me. And you mentioned earlier that Dan isn't mentioned in the 12.
Mhm.
And I wonder, well, I'm not John. I don't know the significance of that. Um, but who was subbed in? If it wasn't Dan, who took his spot?
I'm
Do
not
we
sure.
do we
I
know?
didn't look into it that deeply. I do know the order was I think it's Joseph, right? Because Joseph
Right.
wasn't a tribe, and so he would have, but he's listed here as one of the tribes.
Right.
Um, the order is different again. Judah is listed first. No doubt, like Jesus, the lion from the tribe of Judah. I like probably the list is symbolic in that way as well,
Mm,
and the ordering of it. Um, yeah. So in Revelation 14, we get another snapshot of these 144,000,
mm,
which I think just kind of helps us a little further. It says, this great choir sang a wonderful new song in front of the throne of God and before the four living beings and the 24 elders. No one could learn this song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth.
mm.
So these are the redeemed people from planet Earth.
Wow.
So if you're redeemed,
Yeah.
right, you're from planet Earth, I
Yeah.
think this is pretty good indication you're a part of this group. And what's interesting is both times that they're mentioned, where they're located is the throne room of God.
Mm.
And they're in the throne room of God unprotected. Like
Wow.
even the angels
They needed to
cannot
cover
do that.
their
Yes.
faces. Yeah.
But here they are singing, relaxed.
That's beautiful.
Yes, being in God's presence and enjoying him and God enjoying them.
That's 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 spectacular. Like I can't think of like there must be larger words to describe this kind of beauty and connection.
Yeah. And and there's a further description here. It says they have kept themselves as pure as virgins, following the Lamb wherever he goes.
Mm.
That should be a great description of believers,
Of
right?
us, yeah, being
Yeah.
actual representations,
Mhm.
reflections.
Then it says they have been purchased from among the people on the earth as a special offering to God and to the Lamb. So again, that idea of that they're coming from all the people of the earth, right?
Mm.
Not just the nation of Israel. And so you could ask the question like, why did he start with the nation of Israel and then move to
Everything
all the
else.
everyone else, right?
Well, you see that through the biblical story, don't you?
Exactly.
You see it starting with, all right, I'm going to start in this location with this people group, but from them actually everyone will be included. That's yeah.
Bingo. Yeah.
And I think just some of my thoughts, I know I think the idea that we are all included with this, I think matches with the larger biblical story of we see Jesus dying for the world,
Mm.
not just dying for Israel, and I'm very thankful that he has died for Israel and has also died for me because I'm not in there, and
Yeah,
so yeah, I that's magnificent. That's beautiful. Praise God for including us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's one point that John makes from all of this, because it's not just information. It's not just saying, someday you're going to be in God's presence, you're going to reign with Him and be in His throne room. There's something for us now too,
Mm,
and in the Revelation 14 passage, John kind of breaks from the description to preach at us a little, right? To
right.
to say like, here's what you need to get from this right now.
Mm,
Um, Here's what he says in verse 12. This means that God's holy people, those that are part of the 144,000, those that are part of the redeemed, um, this great vast number that can't be counted,
right.
um, even though he counts them.
Yep.
This is typical apocryphal stuff. The most famous contradictory statement from Revelation that we all know so well is Jesus is the lion and the lamb,
Mm,
right? This is the way John is writing. He gives things that seem to be contradictory and yet they're complementary when you really think about it.
mm.
And this number that's counted but yet can't be counted.
That's fascinating.
This is, in other words, God knows his own. He can count them,
Yeah.
but it's such a great number. When I look, I can't count
We
them.
can't because he's so we can't understand God.
Verse 12 here says, this means that God's holy people must endure persecution patiently, obeying his commandments and maintaining their faith in Jesus.
Wow.
So sadly, when we think of Revelation, at least in my background, maybe many of you that are listening to this, you probably have it compartmentalized. Like, okay, you get into the book of Revelations, it's all describing the 7 year period that's still to come. And who knows, like some of that might be very accurate. I'm not here to debate that. But what I will say is that John was writing to real people that were going through real tribulation,
Mm,
real persecution. They were seeing their families literally torn apart,
right.
like fed to animals and lit on fire on poles. Like they were seeing unbelievable persecution and trauma. And so he's writing this to encourage them. Now,
Mm,
it might have some future fulfillment that is going to blow our minds, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if that's the case. But he was writing to real people who are really suffering,
mm.
right? And
Seriously.
he's saying, you're part of these sealed ones.
Right.
You're these servants of God that are going to be in God's throne room. So don't give up. Like
Mm,
don't walk away now. Continue your faith in Jesus even though it's hard, even though you're suffering, even though it hurts. Don't give up now because God has guaranteed your victory,
that's
right?
beautiful.
And so this is supposed to mean something to us now as well as just something that's perhaps to come, right?
Mm.
Um, maybe here's a way for us to end this unless you've got something you want to add after. But let's
No?
say we were to let's say we were to play a game, Matt.
Let's do it right now.
Okay. So here's the way the game goes.
Okay, I'm ready. I like
You,
games. I like
yep.
games.
So we're gonna play multiple rounds. Okay.
Okay.
So every round for you, whatever you got for score
Okay.
gets zeroed out.
Okay.
Okay. For
Okay.
me, every round that we play, even if you beat me in the round, let's say you beat me 10 to 2,
Yep.
my score carries forward.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So at the end of all of the rounds, let's say we play 20 rounds, guess who wins?
Greg, you win.
I win. Okay. So here's what Christians get really wrong about the
Mm,
story of Jesus and the story of the Bible. They start with God losing, right?
mm,
They see that God creates all the world and he's got everything in this amazing order and it's just beautiful. And all of a sudden sin comes in and God loses. And they get this story of God scrambling the whole way through to try to get back what he lost.
mm.
And the Bible doesn't teach that at all.
No, not at
It
all.
shows God's methodical working and building up point after point,
Mm,
round after round after round. And it's just this continuous story of God overcoming and God winning and him getting his people for himself, right?
that's
And
beautiful.
and loving them beautifully. And so here's where we need to kind of land is that there are battles that I'm going to go through that it's going to feel and look a whole lot like losing.
Mm,
I'm going to lose some rounds massively. Maybe it's my health, maybe it's a relationship, whatever. Like there's losing, but every round gets zeroed out for the enemy.
that's right.
But for the child of God, every little victory carries forward.
Mm,
It's eternal, right? Here's the most beautiful example of this. You get Jesus on the cross, okay?
yeah.
What a losing round,
Yeah. The
right?
sky darkened.
Yeah, like it was the hour of victory for the enemy. Like it was like 99 to 1, right? Like it was just this total massive victory for the enemy. And all that Jesus carried forward, or all that he got, the point that he got is, man, he really loves us,
Yeah.
right? Everything else was just darkness. Everything
Yeah.
else is just failure, loss, all that other stuff. But that one little point that
That's
he
all it
loves
needed.
us, that carried through and changed humanity, changed the world. It changes our standing with God. Like it's everything for us, right?
Mm,
And you see, God's works, his victories carry forward forever. And when
that's
we
right.
participate with him, even in our suffering, it
Mm,
can look like massive losses, and yet we win.
mm. That's
And
incredible.
that's the point John is trying to get across to the people he's writing to. And yes, he's using incredibly complex language and imagery and things where you have to ponder and think, how does this all fit together? But he wants us to get the point. And that's why in Revelation 14, he pauses from all of the
And he says,
symbolic
all right,
language. He's like,
guys.
you got to get this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to use flashy language anymore. You, you, you just got to understand God wins and you win along with him.
Mm,
Don't give up.
that's right. What an awesome passage. What an
Mm.
awesome God is just so good. I'm happy that we come back to this often at the end of each episode. That God is just so good, and He shows His methodical love in every situation, and we are included in that.
Mm.
What do you guys think about this topic? Talk about it down in the comments with us. We'd love to chat. And if you enjoy these kinds of conversations, hey, stick around for the next one. Hit that subscribe button. But this has been Questions and Almost Answers.